Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Storytellers. I am your host, Graham Nolan. For some reason, my little trailer thing didn't run. So we are live. So welcome. Tonight, we're going to go and talk about something that really bothers me. And that is laying out stories. You're going to come across those scenes where what we call talking head scenes, exposition, explanation, they're going to happen in every story. So the key to doing that is making it interesting. And when I was working in newspaper strips and illustrating soap operas, basically, it doesn't get more talking head than that. Day in. I mean, a daily strip is daily. It's every day. So, you could have people sitting around a kitchen table talking for 2 weeks, and it's brutal. So one of the things that I did to sharpen my skills was I went back and I looked at the great newspaper strip soap opera artists, guys like Stan Drake and Leonard Starr, Alex Kotsky, to see what they did to make those strips interesting. 3-4 panels, and there was a lot of various techniques that I learned from. And so we're gonna talk about some of those tonight. And I've got my iPad all hooked up here. So what do you say we dive in? Okay, so we'll start with this one here. Got a bunch of pages to choose from here from my last project, Alien Alamo, and I have a Chinook page also, which will help illustrate something. So on this page, typically your script is going to say, family, getting in the car to drive away. Our character waves goodbye to them, then has a very serious look. He walks up the tree, discards his cane, and stands next to the tree solemnly. Something like that would be the description for this. Now, there's no action here, obviously, and action's the easiest stuff to draw. That's the stuff every new artist trains himself to do. They copy those action shots, those poster shots, all that kind of stuff. But this is the kind of stuff that separates the men from the boys. It's to be able to tell a story interestingly when there's not a lot going on, and there's ways of doing that. Little techniques. One is vary your figures within the panel. Bring the camera in and out. If you can put action in something, have people doing something. In this one, they're walking towards the car. The angle's a low angle perspective, so everybody's in there. There we go. Just move my keyboard here. Hold on. My workstation here is a little crowded. Let me get this set up here. I'll be right with you guys. So I want to make notations on here. In case you're wondering, this is in Procreate. I have a layer put on here so that I can mark it up. Let's choose maybe a nice bright red. In case I need to show you anything. Okay, so one of the things that makes this interesting is the use of negative space. Here on this first panel here, I'm going to blow that up a little bit more. There we go. We have a lot of detail. It's an establishing shot, yes, but it's not necessary to establish it because on the previous page, we knew where they were. But it's always important to orient your reader. So by the next panel, we've got this really nice open space in here, which will have room for word balloons, because you gotta remember, you gotta have word balloons in here. So when you're designing the layouts, you have to take that into mind. But it focuses you on by choosing a complete side view here. Tells everything that you need. I silhouetted the character, and so because of all the white space, you're drawn to the black ink. You're drawn to that character. But what really is going to separate this is the panel arrangements, and that's the other trick that you can do in comic books to make a page interesting. Is arrange the panels in an interesting way. Have some of them overlap, like I did with the two face inserts. Okay, and then I have them walking up the hill, and then the big emotional panel is completely open. And again, it focuses your eye where I want you to look. So that's kind of a cool technique to use. And then the tree forms the background too. You can see, all the leaves up here, here, here. It frames all the panels. So okay, here's another one where this is strictly a talking page. Your script might say something like, because this is also a transition. We've transitioned from a scene. So it'll say, morning on the ranch. Dad is getting breakfast ready for his son, who is a bit logy after waking up, and they have a conversation. Okay. Not too exciting, right? So what I decided to do on this page, again, to spice it up, is put an establishing shot in, because it was necessary, because it is a transition scene. I wanted to show the ranch. Now, I could easily have shown just the inside of the ranch, and we would have known that that's what it was. But I like to do exteriors as well. So to show an exterior and then bring you as the reader inside into the action. You're basically a voyeur. A reader is a voyeur watching this play happen. And what I said earlier is, if you can insert action where there isn't any, it helps liven up the page. So I could have started this whole sequence with them sitting down, but I can still have a little bit of action by having the boy, walk past his dad, okay, and then have the dad actually serve the meal, So stuff is happening, and while that stuff is happening, we have the reaction of the boy, and that's another element too, is to push some of the reactions sometimes. Obviously, he's just woken up, so you exaggerate that yawn, that type of thing, to make it more interesting, rather than just a kind of a little, that kind of thing. So you push the drawing, as it were. Again, I like to have an open panel on a page, if I can work it in there, because it does let the page breathe. Okay. It also focuses you again here on our main character as he's talking. All right. I've brought the camera in a little bit closer this time now, so his figure is bigger. He takes up more space, forcing you to listen, if you will, to what he has to say, because he's bigger. He's more in our face, so he must have something important to say. In the third panel, I utilize the rule of thirds. So you've got your 1, 2, 3, and if you put something In the third section, like there, it forces the reader's eye there. And it also balances out the panel really nicely because there are word balloons here. So, you know, if there's a word balloon going off panel here, you got a word balloon here, you know, all that stuff balances really nicely and makes for a really cool layout for basically a talking page. Okay. Now here's a page where there's a lot of talking, but our characters are doing something. So when you have an outside scene like this and your characters are doing something, it's a little easier to make it interesting because you can play with the landscapes, you can play with the actors, you can play with, you know, sets, if you will, like that Jeep in the background is sort of a set piece to let the cow back there, you know, and then perspective is important too, you know, to draw the eye towards people or to draw the reader's eye towards what you want them. Now, we do have a little bit of action here. We have some players coming on stage and they're riding a horse. But then we're right back down to talking again. And if you'll notice, you know, I moved the camera in and out. Like these two panels here, we primarily have figures around the same height. Okay. But then we move in closer here on this panel and closer still here. That adds interest. And then we have, again, an open panel, all that negative space, and then a drawing that's pushing the action, pushing, you know, it's not real action. He's not punching anybody, but the point is to have this kid have this exuberance, you know, and have the other character react to it. And by not framing him in a box, he pops right out and that exuberance comes out. So again, you know, it's a talking page, but it has a lot of interesting flow to it. Now, here's an example of a page where a lot of information is being displayed because we're through captions, we're watching these characters going back or leaving the main scene to go and do stuff. And we need to have them do it quickly because we need to get them back to where they really were in the beginning on the previous page, and bring them up to the present. So we have a large figure here, okay, that very serious, and he's got important stuff to say. He's basically telling these guys, all right, what we need to do now is go back to your ranch. We got to load up that dynamite. We got to head back to the cave. We got to set this stuff up. And so while he's talking in this first panel, and what he's saying is being bolstered by the actions in the panels following. As his captions tell us, we got to go get the dynamite. We got to drive back, you know, blah, blah, blah. What I think makes this really interesting is here we've got this nice big figure, and we've got this the dog is breaking the panel. Okay, so we've got this nice flow this way, okay, and you've got a flow this way as our characters are walking towards the truck. Now the truck is pointed in that direction. Okay. Typically, what you want to do when you're directing the reader's eye is you want them to flow from panel to panel to panel like that. Okay. But because of the direction of the truck there, I felt it was important to show the trucks driving in that direction so we understand, so that the reader understands that they're heading back to where he is narrating. Okay, if I had it go the other way, and we have these characters here going this way, I think it would be more confusing. You'd be like, well, who's in those trucks? Why are they going that way? Whereas this is it's a much clearer transition, because the truck is pointed that way and then we see it driving that way. So in our minds, they're heading back to where they were. But then, we have this flow again of boom, boom, and boom as it takes us out. The last page is what we call a page turner. It should be something interesting to make the reader want to turn the page, and the image should be focusing him on that, if possible, to make him turn the page. Another aspect of making scenes like this interesting is all the stuff is designed to direct the eye, right? Okay, so one of the things when you're designing or when you're illustrating the page that's important is black placement, is placing your black and white against each other to make things pop out or to recede or to focus your eye. So, for example, here, there's no shadows on these trucks, okay, right here in this panel. But they pop against this panel because of the black of this mountain back here. In this panel here, the following panel, we have sort of a framing device. Okay, so you've got gray tones here. You got shadows. You got a shadow that goes like that. Okay, in essence, it's like this. And you've got a nice black shadow here. Okay, which focuses the reader's eye here. It's a very simple panel, but it could be easily messed up. And that's the thing, is simplicity seems simple, but simplicity is hard. It's about, what you don't put in, Are you achieving your goal? Are you achieving what you want in your storytelling? And that is immersion, getting your reader so immersed in the story that they feel like they're a part of it. Same here. We've got gray tones, blacks, okay, that separates these two different planes. Okay, so you've got the second plane here that's illuminated. Okay, so you can focus on, you can see this guy back here, while at the same time, you're focusing on him. Now, the next technique really involves creative panel arrangements. Okay, because this next page is strictly a talking head page. It's people talking. A lot of information had to be imparted to the reader here because we're giving backstory about the Chenoo, and nobody knows about the Chenoo. It's not like you're giving backstory about, the Revolutionary War, where most people will know a certain amount of it. Nobody knows anything. So the readers, meaning nobody knows. It's important to, get them up to speed. So rather than having a whole slew of talking heads, I decided that since what they're focusing on is the Chenoo, that I would make the panels in the shape of the Chenoo, and make that more of a metaphor for what it is that they're talking about. So I thought I really liked the way this came out, this page layout. It's unique, it's different, and every once in a while you can do that, but again, when you've got talking heads just talking, you've got to be creative. And it's one of the things you can do in the real estate of comics. Uh, you, you don't have as much leeway to do in comic strips. Okay, so the next thing we'll show is, let's do stack. Okay. Okay, this page, I work in Procreate, and the one downfall with Procreate is you can't make borders. Not good borders, not nice sharp borders. So I always import my my files into Photoshop, and then I add borders there. So you can see the red tones here. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Gray tones. Okay. So here's what I start with. This particular project, I did my layouts on 8.5 by 11 paper and did them up in markers. Typically, what I do is I just do it right here on my in Procreate, and then I just discard the sketch layer. But for reasons of that I wanted to do an ash can and have the actual original layouts to sell, I did it this way. So it was a little extra step. I had to take, I just took my camera, took a picture of the layouts, imported it in, adjusted its aspect ratio, and then threw layers over it. And it worked out really good. There was no problems with it. Just an extra step. So this is what a layout looks like. You can see it's loose, but the storytelling is all there. And this is where all the heavy lifting gets done, is the thinking process of converting the words and ideas into pictures. I find that the hardest part, because that's where I do all my, all the lifting. The pencils, that's more technique and finish. And then the inks are fun, because now you're doing the finishes and stuff. And that's the kind of thing, like when I'm inking, I can put a movie on or something, listen to it, and it's very relaxing. But the penciling and the layouts are the hardest part. So the next step is, I do a pencil layer, and I throw that over and tighten it all up. Let's see here. There we go. That's what it naturally looks like, but I drop the opacity back because the next step is going to ink over it. So drop that back down. Get rid of those pencils. And there it is in black and white ink. You can see some texture stuff. Got some cool brushes that I got to do some texture stuff on, like those egg things. So then the next step is to add the gray tones. And the gray tones were basically, in this instance, because it was a color comic, are sort of a template for the colorists, so they could see where I've shadowed things, the light sources, the lighting effects, texturing, that kind of stuff. And that goes here. So that's on another layer. And then I wanted to put some blood splatter in there too. So I put that on another layer, and then Greg was able to integrate that. Bam. by having on these layers, when he's coloring, because he's working in layers, he can adjust things, knock things back. I can't remember if he adjusted that color on the red, if he knocked that back a little bit. It's pretty bright red. But so here is, you can watch a little video here of how it all comes together. And there's a time lapse up here, so when that hits 0, or when it gets to the end, we'll know exactly how much time I spent penciling and inking this page from the layout stage, which is kind of cool. Sometimes I think that I spent a lot longer than I did, and then I look at that time lapse thing and I'm like, that was only 3 hours? Sure felt longer. This might take too long. We're already at an hour and 6 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. It was cool when you actually see the layout processes, and then you watch these videos, is that you can see the mistakes, the ones that didn't work out that I've discarded, threw another layer over and tried again. Where this one is pretty much set in stone. Boy, if only I could ink this fast. Leroy says, look how fast he draws. Dr. Mass says, Expendables Go to Hell felt longer, I'm sure. Oh yeah. That one was a ball buster. I was disappointed in the printing on that. When I got my copies, it was really dark. A lot of my line work was lost. It almost seemed like the color plates had what they call a K-tone in there, which is an extra layer of grays or blacks that kind of muddied it up a bit. I'm using one of those brushes, and then I changed my mind and erased it. When I was drawing this, I was thinking of that sequence in Aliens, where she comes across that egg thing. Now, another thing to make your panels interesting too is try to have 3 planes of depth in there, overlapping images that are going to go back over the image behind it, so that you have a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, and that adds a lot of depth to the drawing, and it just makes it a lot more interesting to look at. Like by putting those egg things in the foreground there, and then then we've got the big critter in the middle ground, and then we have a rock formation and our heroes up on the cliff in the background. So that's your three planes of depth there. All right, well, you get the idea. Let's finish that up. Let's just take a look again at what the hold on. All right. That page took me 5 hours and 28 minutes. That felt like a long page. It felt like you were going to sit here for 5 hours as we watched the video. Okay. Let me see if I get another one. Well, this would be a cool page to talk about. This page was a bear because I had to draw all these cattle in a stampede. So I got horses, I got men, I got cattle. And, you know, how do you make that clear and how do you make it exciting? Well, the exciting part is relatively easy because, you know, you got a lot of action. But, you know, they've got 3 panels there of the cattle, you know, stamping on the critters. And that last panel is really cool because, you know, I got that rock formation back there, which separates the background. So that adds depth. You've got the clouds of dust kicking up. You've got the foreground meteorites and critters, and then you've got the levels and layers of the cattle, you know, in the background, which really seems like a really cool. Well, it gives it a really great sense of depth. And that's really important in establishing interesting looking visuals is a sense of depth. There's so much, and there's so many different ways of doing these things. There's no absolute way. There's a lot of ways to figure out how to get to the same place. But the main thing is you got to make the stuff interesting looking if you want the readers to get past this stuff so that they can get to, you know, the cool action sequences, you know. There's a talking head scene. 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. Typically, you know, I use 4 to 5 to 6 panels on a page. But again, you can see this. We have I got. Let me throw a layer on here so I can start marking it up. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, you know, I mentioned focusing on, you know, take a panel from the story and focus on it. Make the most important part on that page the most interesting panel. So, to me, it was a sequence here where our heroic character is leaning out over the ledge, and everybody's in the background. And so I made that the focus on this Talking Heads page. And again, I left the background open. So we can put a night sky in there, or we could just leave it white and color the rock formation going up this way and color these guys here, and then this. We could have just colored all that stuff, and then they would really pop. Oh, hey. K Manifesto, I thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Great stream, Graham. Thanks for sharing your insights on how to make better comics. Oh, you're very welcome. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So that's what I did on this page. You know, I opened it all up so that we could focus on him. Having the black here makes a nice framing device for my 2 lower panels. And, you know, it makes an interesting looking page. You know, it's not just straight panels in a grid. And that's a whole nother discussion, is grid grid layouts. I love the 6-panel grid. Chuck loves the 6-panel grid, and he loves to put them in scripts that I've drawn for him. There's just something very primal about it, you know. You know, and again, that's one of those things. If you can't tell the story in 6-panel grids where you are not playing tricks by putting things in and out of panel borders, then you need work. you need to get some work in, because the best guys can do that. You know, Kirby did it. Ramita, Buscema, Kane, strip guys. They all, you know, had to work within those formats. And if you can do that, then you can tell a good story when things are opened up for you, like this kind of a page to do. Oh, let me get rid of that layer. Okay. Let's see what else we got here we can discuss. I wonder if I do have any 6-panel grids in this story. Well, that's 5 panels. Let's see if I got a 6-panel grid here. Well, here we go. Now, it's not a perfect grid because I've got one panel a little larger than the other ones at the bottom. But I love this page. I love the acting on this page. Again, you know, you can see all the techniques I told you about, with the exception of an open panel, because I've got this set in a grid. But cameras moving in and out. We've got shadows defining shapes. Let me just throw a quick layer on here. Okay. So we've got, you know, here we've got the camera has moved in large here on these 2 close-ups. Okay. Here we have this really nice, again, a thirds, using the third rule. 1, 2, 3. Our focus is here. And that gives a nice balanced panel, you know, for word balloons or whatever, you know. Here's a nice silhouette up against the white of his back. So the character's popping. Here's some dynamic acting as he's yelling. Oh, thank you. My producer, Julie, the boss, just told me this is 8 panels. This is an 8-panel grid. And she's right. So, but the same thing applies. If you can do it in 8 panels, it's even harder. If you can do it in 6, you know, basically, if you can do these things in these boxed in panels without relying on giant action figures or bursting out of panel stuff, then you know your storytelling is solid. I really like this panel down here at the bottom too. It's just sort of a nice side view shot. Nice balance here for word balloons. Again, I like the acting a lot on this page. You know, these 2 guys up here, their facial expressions, that one, you know, how he's explaining to his dad here. And then, you know, how Tonto is, you know, just kind of like reaching out like he's going to tap him, you know, doing his dog thing. All right. Have you got all that? Is everybody taking these notes down and getting all this down? I hope so, because there's going to be a test later. All right. Let's say hello to some folks here, see who's here. Leroy is here. Hi. Nolan was great at page turns too. Hopefully he talks about that. I did talk about that a little bit. Maybe you just showed up a little bit late. But that is an important aspect of making of good storytelling and making the page interesting, and that is making your reader want to turn to the next page. And that can be achieved through, a couple different things. One can be action. One can be composition, that you're leading that reader out to that next page, or it can be a piece of dramatic dialogue, promising something or threatening something to come in the next page, that kind of stuff. Lots of different ways. As I said, there's no one way, but there is a wrong way. There's a lot of right ways. There is a wrong way. The wrong way is you lose your readers because it's boring. And that is untenable. It's another great talking. Oh, oopsies. Let's see. Another good talking page. Lots of shadows here. I really like how the last panel is really an open panel, but it's framed by all this black space here. All that frames that, which is where I want you to look. And then when it was colored, all this stuff, all this background stuff here was colored, a beautiful night sky. And so once that's colored, then these panels all pop off the page. So there you go. All righty. See if we got any questions in the chat here. Let me slide all the way back up to the top if I can. Yes. Okay. Leg kick is here. Leroy is here. You were here from the beginning. Yo. This should be fun. Dr. Mask is here. Angela Curry. Excellent. Chris Juliano. Marcus Calabru. Hello. Neon Todd Studio. Past Master Dan. Hyper Kaiju. K Manifesto says, what's up? Hey, guys, while you're listening to me say hello to everybody, click that like button, please. And if you're new here, you're showing up for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. And it helps me. It helps with my algorithms and all that kind of fun stuff, particularly hitting that like button. Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan streams back to back. I'll allow it. That's right. Chuck was on, Andy's show this afternoon, I think. Okay. Oh, Stat Zero is here. Hi, Stat. And Stat did his manly duty here. Thank you, sir, for putting giant-sized two-fisted manly tales into the chat here. Nicholas Greer is here. Hi, Nick. How are you? JP Roca asked the eternal question, what's good? What's Merlin hiding in the tree? Oh, Past Master Dan, you've read the book. I'm just looking here to see if anybody's got any questions about the stuff we went over. Mauricio Vargas. Hope I pronounced that right, my friend. He says, hi, greetings from Mexico. Hello there, sir. Love your country. I did La Mole Con a few years back, and wow, that was amazing. What an amazing con in Mexico City. Super great fans there. Stripling Vaughn says, note in the first panel the design elements that create motion and action. Lines of the house and direction of people lead to car that is faced in the opposite direction. Right. You know what you brought up? Let's pull that page up. That was this one. Right? Note in the first panel, the design elements that create motion and action. Lines of the house and direction of the people lead to a car that's facing the opposite direction. That's right. Perspective is forcing your eye this way towards basically this character here. But again, the direction of the characters is walking. He's about to turn and walk around the side of that car, and the car is facing this way, away from the action. So sort of a bit of dynamic tension, if you will. Even when there's no action, you can add tension, what they call dynamic tension, into a panel. So thank you, Stripling Vaughn, for pointing that out. I was remiss. The newest Comics Gate King, James Allen, says, think of it like a silent movie. That's what Stan Lee used to tell his artists, you know, go watch silent movies. Because of the acting, you know, when I talked about pushing the drawings and pushing the emotions, there's no room for, in a two-dimensional story, you don't have a lot of room for nuance if you're trying to get something across, because you don't have sound, you don't have motion, and you don't have, you know, the nuance of the face. So, you know, you've got to push those emotions, you know, when happy, sad, you know, all that kind of stuff. It makes it much more, when you look at guys who are completely photo referenced and they don't push the drawings, you know, they're trying to capture that nuance of the face, but it just comes across as boring. So that's why you have to add life to it. You have to push the drawing. And as James was talking about, watching silent movies is what Stan told people. And it's great advice. I mean, I saw, and I've talked about this before on another stream, but there was an actor named Fatty Arbuckle, who was a huge silent silent comedian. And he's always, you know, he was the fat guy, you know, always in love with a beautiful girl, but could never approach her because of who he was or who he thought he was and all that kind of stuff. And there was this great sequence I saw in one of his movies where the girl that he loves was in bed, asleep, and he's standing at the threshold of the doorway to her bedroom, and the door is open, and he's looking at it, and the light's behind him, so the light of his body is being cast across the wall behind the bed there, and then the camera is focused on her and on the shadow, and the shadow bends down and kisses the girl on the cheek. And so basically the shadow, Fatty's shadow, is doing the one thing he always wanted to do that he never could or never would. And I thought that was very poignant and beautiful sequence. In fact, I stole it and used it in in a Sunshine State strip once about unrequited love. I changed it up a little bit, of course, but I just thought that was a great scene. Admiral Wackass says, Alien Alma was so good, Graham. Absolutely loved it. Well, thank you, pal. Really appreciate that, and I appreciate you for backing it, too. Leroy says, this page is all about pacing. I'm sorry, I'm getting to you later. I'm not sure which page you were talking about. James Allen says, Graham knows his stuff. Well, you pick up some things after 37 years in this business. But as I said on other streams, all the textbooks you need are right there in front of you. You just got to seek them out. The great artists upon whose shoulders we stand today, guys like me stand upon their shoulders. You just got to look at their books and deconstruct what they did, because it's all there for you. It's you just got to figure it out. And that's the fun of it for me. Like when I started doing those newspaper strips, oh my God, a few years in, that stuff is soul sucking, and James Allen will attest to that. He used to do Mark Trail for King Feature Syndicate. But those are so soul sucking because you're so restricted in your format, and not a lot is happening. People just standing around talking in a lot of instances. So what I used to do to motivate myself was I'd go back and look at those great cartoonists I told you about, Drake, Starr, Kotsky, Salinas, and then even the chiaroscuro type school, the Kniffs and the Frank Robbins guys, for how they would do those talking scenes, and so those are my textbooks. I would look at it and say, oh, okay, here's what he did. This is why he did that, and this is why that panel or that strip actually looks interesting. Official Polyworld Trainer says, hi, Comicsgate. Hello, Comicsgate, and everybody else. Okay. People were talking about panels and pages, but I'm not sure which ones because I'm behind here. These were comments from 7:15. Danger Vanessa is here. Hello, Danger Vanessa. Seeing if I come across different names here that I haven't seen. Time of Dying 00. What if you can't use heavy blacks because your scene is in full daylight? Well, the stronger the light, the stronger the shadows. So you can definitely use heavy blacks. Look at pictures of people standing on a beach in Florida, wearing a hat. The shadows are, very, very, very deep. But if you don't want to do that for whatever reasons, you can leave those shadows for color, which is a lot of times what I'll do. Or you can always put blacks as a tonal quality behind somebody. Let's say they're standing in full sunlight, okay, or they're at a beach, and the woman's wearing like a sun hat, a wide brim sun hat, and there's a tiki bar. They're standing, that's behind them. Okay, you can throw a shadow on that tiki bar behind those figures and do the figures linearly, and then that shadow will punch those figures forward, and then you use gray tones or lines to indicate for the colorist where to put the hard shadows on the figures. So then you don't have the black background, which is punching your figures up or out, isn't competing with the shadows on their face. And in fact, it will really make that drawing sing if you do it that way. Hope that answered your question. Dr. Mass Retro Elixir says, I shared this with DC and Marvel, figured they could use the help. Yeah. They don't teach this stuff, you know, and you see a lot of mediocre comics, you know, as a result of the artists not knowing how to approach this and punch it up and make it interesting. Got a little conversation going here, which I won't interrupt. Leroy says, this is one of my favorite crowdfunded pages. Which page are you talking about, Leroy? Love this layout. Oh, I'll bet you're talking about, because he says, I love this layout. I'll bet you're talking about the Chenu one. Because you brought that up on another stream. So I'm betting that's what that was. Where can I catch the replay? Well, Admiral Wackass, that gives me a bit of information. It means that you are not subscribed to this channel. So your homework is going to be go subscribe to this channel. It'll be on YouTube on my channel. Just type in Graham Nolan on YouTube and it'll come up. Then click that subscribe button. It's free and you can see all my shows there that are archived there. And you'll also get notifications when I'm going live with another show. So that goes for everybody out there. If you haven't done that, please do so. Stat Zero, I have never been disappointed with a Compass Comics book. 100% recommended. Well, thank you, sir. I've started work on the next one. Giant size two-fisted manly tales. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the Ghost of Matacumba Key. So I've got giant size two-fisted in my mind because I've been working hard on that campaign, and it's coming to an end tomorrow. Let's see. I got a super chat here. Got to get to. Let me just grab real quick. How do I get there? Wow, there it is. Danger Vanessa. Well, thank you for that $19.99 super chat. That, my dear, is a good cigar. So for this test, is this enough? Is this enough of a bribe to get a C? Heck no. This is good enough to get a B+. How about that? Thank you, Vanessa. Very much appreciated. All right, let me get back to where I was. I had a lot of folks to get to. There we go. Talking about hillbilly. That's from too. Ever do lettering, Graham? Yes and no. I created a font of my own for my Sunshine State strips. And I used to hand letter them, but once I created the font, it was a lot easier. But my lettering is fine for that. Something sort of unique as my own strip. But it's nowhere near good enough to do for a comic book. So I use the pros. Leroy says 5 hours and 28 minutes. Well worth it. That's the running time, or how much time I spent on that page. Got an ad at least probably another half an hour to an hour for the original layout, depending on how fast that came to me. Took me the average length of a Jack show. Wow, do they go that long? Vero Frady is enjoying the stream. Well, thank you. If you're new, same homework for you. Go to YouTube, Graham Nolan channel, and please subscribe and like. Hit that like button. Horses are a bit easier when you break them into 3 different sections to draw. I break them into 1, 2, 3, 4. I break them into 4 sections: the head, the neck, the front shoulder girdle, the back girdle, and then connect those 2 together. But I had fun doing a cartoony, anthropomorphic version of a horse in this book, in Alien Alamo. That was a lot of fun. Same thing with Tonto the dog. It just felt appropriate for the era in which I set the story. Rob Fella says the stampede was great. Cattle get their revenge after Mars attacks. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way that would work into that storyline that that they could get rid of all of these things. And I thought about, some of the great Westerns I had seen, like Red River, where there's cattle stampedes and stuff, and what damage that can cause. And I'm like, oh, that could be a cool thing. You don't see that in a comic every day, So, Michael Deach says, has a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, sir. Any pro tricks for establishing time passage between panels, or do you let the content itself create the time flow in the reader's mind? Well, there's a couple ways there, Michael. The gutters between the panels is your time. So, in other words, if you put a lot of panels, let's say 6 panels in like a triptych, just like up on the top tier, like a Frank Miller, you're telling the reader this stuff is happening quickly. If you want to show that time has passed, let's see, with a scene change, that's another way. Establish a different scenery is another way to establish time has gone by. What you do with your figures, your body language. Let's say it's a sequence where they're waiting excitedly at the airport for, grandma to get off the plane. And then we show a few panels of them getting more and more less excited, more tired, slumping down, napping on the floor, that kind of stuff. That's another way to show the passage of time. So thank you for that. Yeah, the stampede looked great. The whole book looked great. So let's do. I want to show the double page spread, because that one took me forever to do. Where's my Dropbox? Here we go. Where are we? Come on now. It's got to be around here. There we go. Okay. Why did it go in a cinema layout? Oh well. Anyway, this was the double page spread. this thing took me forever to do. The advantage of in my old eyes is that small figures were starting to get a little wonky looking. So when I'm doing small figures now, I can blow the image up, put in the amount of detail that I want or need, and then shrink it back down and have my perspective or proportions all right and everything. So like here you can see, you know, these figures. And that's exactly what I did. I blew them up and then I put them back down in there, and it worked out great. But yeah, this is a page I was really proud of, and I really liked the idea of the cattle destroying the aliens. You know, Earth creatures destroying these alien creatures. I like that. Okay. Stat Zero says he's already looking forward to backing the Ghosts of Matacumba Key. Thank you. Yeah, I think I have those. I got those designs. You guys want to see those? I think you do. Let's go take a look at those since we're talking about them. Oh, wait, that's not where they are. Hold on a second. Bear with me. What? Boop. Boop. And boop. Send those to. Yeah, let's just do it like this. All right. Sorry about that. I wanted to show you guys, and I was having trouble finding them, but here, I can do this. There you go. There's one. And like I said, I've got no room here. I'm surrounded by a bunch of crap. Okay, get that there. And I'll pull those up. Boy, this better be worth it. Where did those images go? There we go. Okay. God damn. I feel like I'm... okay. There's one. There's two. And there's three. Okay. There we go. And we'll just pull this sucker out. And we'll share this. Stop screen. Share. Screen. Window. There we go. All right. Whew. I'm going to need a drink after this. Holy guacamole. Okay, where was I here? Get rid of that. Okay, so as Stat Zero indicated, the next project from me that's part of my Nolan universe is The Ghosts of Matacumba Key. And this is one of the character designs. She's based on Elizabeth Montgomery and Jo Beth Williams. Her name is Misty Bell. And connecting my little universes, she's the cousin of Abby Bell from The Girls of Dimension 13, even though another publisher publishes that. But it's still a little bit part of my universe. Won't be a story element, but it's just, it's a little backstory that I've got in my head that I can go with. Her partner here is Mike Rutowski, also known as Meathead. And these guys are supernatural investigators. He's a former MMA fighter. She's a former WWE wrestler who has like clairvoyance and is in touch with the spirit world. And they've got this investigative business in the Florida Keys, where our story is going to take place. And so I also did first little design elements here, like for their walk up to their office, and then the interior of their office here. The stuff on the wall will be like, stuff from their, days in the rings, so to speak. But yeah, so that's what's coming up next. But as I had mentioned, was first off, we have to get through Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tales, which hit 90. Did it hit 91? It's got to be close if it hasn't. Let's see. Tomorrow is the last day. I'll be closing it out. Not exactly sure if I'll do it here on my channel. We're going to do some on the Bros too tomorrow, which is on Billy's channel. But then we're at 90,533, so we're close to 91,000. And then possibly on Ethan's channel. I'm not sure. We haven't gotten that lined up yet, but we'll be doing a closeout. So if you were thinking about it and you haven't backed the project yet, please do so. There are certain perks that are coming down that will not be in demand when it goes into demand. So if particularly like the Brass Knuckles trophy, this one right here, that will be coming down as of tomorrow. Well, technically Friday it'll come out, because we'll be closing until late hours tomorrow. So if you need and want one of those, you better get it today. Let's see. I ended up scrolling way past everybody here. EVS weighs more than Fatty Arbuckle. Ouch. That's harsh. Eric the Guapo is here. He says, hey, Eric. Oh, here we go. Backer number 1373 for Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tales. Thank you, Apex Comics. I'm going backwards, so if you wrote something earlier, probably say it. Yes, Chuck said Jim Aparo was his second favorite Batman artist. Nice. Who was his first? Did he say? Dick Sprang? Sequential Treasures says Manly Tales campaign is ending soon. Don't be a girly man, knucklehead, and back it now. I couldn't have said it better myself. You mentioned 3 layers in your panel: foreground, middle ground, background. Is there ever any good reason to have more than 3 layers, 4 or 5 layers? Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying at a minimum, you want to try to have those 3. You can definitely have more layers, and that's more levels of depth. Depends on what you're trying to achieve, but at a minimum, you want to have, you want to try to get 3. James Murphy asks, do you think about color when doing your pages, or you just focus on the values? I do think of color. Yeah, I do. Okay. Now I got back to where I was. I've got to scroll down. Ooh, Dr. Mass says hi to Christina Lynn with a bourbon. Nice. Could use one of those myself. An artist I know told people to buy professional wrestling magazines, and you get the basic look for a superhero comic. Muscular guys and exaggerated emotion. I've heard worse ideas. Michael Deach says, happens in stage plays to some degree as well. No close-ups possible. Project emotions with exaggerated gestures and makeup. Yeah, they call that playing to the back row. It's one thing to express an emotion and have, the first 5 rows see it, but don't forget, you got people up in the mezzanine that need to see it too. Oh, nice. Alien Alum was the first CG book I never put away. I read all in one sitting. Wow. Thank you. High praise indeed. Herb Bond says, big fan of your indie work and Phantom Adventures. Well, thank you, Herb. You're watching on Facebook. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go over there. Just type in my name. It'll come up. It's free. And then you'll get heads ups whenever I'm about to do shows. Graham normally says the full name, and I appreciate it. You mean like when I'm saying their chat names, like Admiral Wackass? Eric the Guapo, is there any plans for a straight-up Western comic? Outlaws versus lawmen versus natives. Alien Alamo put me in the mood for a good old Western. People were asking me about that, and also if I'm going to do a World War II one, because I had that flashback sequence, and they really like that. I don't have a plan to do a Western or a war comic just yet. I've got a couple more things I want to do. I've got after Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tales, I'm working on The Ghost of Matacumba Key. Then I'm also going to have a Chenu plushie doll that's going to be coming out with it's going to have a mini print with it. And then after that, I think we might be doing the sequel to Joe Frankenstein. So that might be the next one on my schedule. The Return of Joe Frankenstein. Woohoo! Oh, that's what Ramona Fraden said, but nicer than soul sucking. Oh yeah, if you've ever spent any time in the strips, it's brutal. It's a brutal, unforgiving deadline, and the syndicates are just, they don't give a shit. You think that they would, that they'd care about the characters, they've entrusted you with, but they don't. All they care is about, did you get it in? They don't care about the quality. They don't tell you when you did a good job. I worked on The Phantom and on Rex Morgan, and I tried to bring those 2 strips back up to their glory days, and busted my hump doing it. Never once, hey man, we like what you're doing, because they were legacy strips that they didn't care about, and they were just cash cows. So they weren't putting any effort into trying to sell them to any more papers. Whereas I'm like, let's do this and that. We'll get more papers, and we can market it this way. I was thinking, outside the box. I even pitched a brand new proposal for the girls of apartment 3G, which they didn't even want to hear about. It's like, no. We've got, that's not going anywhere. And we're just going to, cash the checks for the papers that do continue to carry it. And then those papers eventually dropped it, and then they dropped the strip entirely. So that once great strip is no longer in the papers. A lot of reasons, but it really starts with, do you care about your properties? And they didn't. Sam Malazzo says, look forward to seeing the full video on YouTube soon in better examination and bigger size. All right, Sam. Oh, Mayfield Jukes is voting for World War II first. Eric is down for a World War II book. Two? I didn't say I was doing a World War II book. Andrew Runyon wishes he could hang out for the whole live stream. We wish you could, sir. Wish you could too, sir, is what I meant to say. Apex, hey, Eric the Guapo, I like a Western comic that Graham can tell as well. Six Guns and Spurs. What if the setting is somewhere dark, like the interior of an abandoned warehouse? How do you separate the figures from the background? That's a good question. But what you do is you use, if you ever watch a scene like that in a movie, it's what I call theatrical lighting. Like people driving down a dark road, the road behind them, you'll see like a blue light lighting up, silhouetting the cars are coming down the road. Well, there's no light like that, but unless there's some type of light source there, a house or what have you. But that's what they do in movies and in theater productions too. You light the scene in a theatrical way so that you can see what's going on or film what's going on. And so that's how I handle those scenes too, is that, I'll leave enough room for the color to indicate that that it's in a dark area. You'll show it with shadows to a certain degree, but you have to have your forms separated, and then you can leave color to do that. So clever background elements to have a reason for blacks. Well, not necessarily. I'll put them in as a design element. A shadow being cast by something off panel in the foreground. A geometric shape. Just to add some life into a panel. You can use all those techniques. Will we get a sequel to the Manly Tales? I don't know. It depends on how this goes. I mean, funding very nice, but dealing with so many writers and artists, and then letterers, colorists, all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot out of me. It's a lot of work on my end, even though I'm not. I've written 2 of the stories, but I'm not drawing any of the stories. But so it's taking up a lot of energy. So I'm not sure. We'll see. I've got other things that I want to do as well. It could be that, I scratch that itch and we'll move on from that. Or if it goes along smoothly from this point on to print and distribution, then, then maybe I will, and I'll have, get some people to help me, traffic that stuff through. Oh, Not the replay of this. Of course I'm sub Graham. The new chat. The new chat. Huh. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the new chat is. So Beckett, I want my hardcover. I know. Here's the thing, gang. We're at 90,000. We're ahead of the game of where I was with Alien Alamo by about $10,000. And Alien Alamo really did well in demand. So there's a good possibility we can get to that 150K so we can upgrade to hardcovers. The only problem is, and if you got my update today, is that it's not going to be in demand as long as Alien Alamo was. Maybe half the time, because my teams are all working on stuff, and August is the projected fulfillment date. But I'm cracking the whip down, and I really want to try and get this to everybody in July. So that's not that far out for it to remain in demand. So if you backed it, great. Thanks so much. If you haven't, please do so. And whether you have or haven't, please share the campaign with your friends that you know enjoy comics, that enjoy maybe masculine entertainment, like John Wayne movies, Clint Eastwood movies, that kind of stuff, because this is the kind of stuff they would like. So please tell them and share with them and promote it to them. And then everybody benefits. Then we get those doggone hardcovers, which we all want. Angela Curry, hey, you got an A in the class. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Is that what they teach in the Marines now, Vanessa? Stripping Vaughn says one test for a good talk page is make everyone a stick figure. If you still shouldn't have any up and down lines. They should all be diagonal. You know who was a master of that? Was Jim Aparo. Nobody stood straight up in a Jim Aparo panel. They were always, they had an angle to them. They would stand, they had their hips cocked or something like that. Love that about his storytelling. Aw. Tonto ruled, please bring him back as a cyborg pup. That's what I really liked about the sequence when he was an old man, when he went up to Tonto's burial site. Your pets, your dogs leave an indelible mark in your heart. And it doesn't matter how many years go by, you remember them. You look at pictures of them, or in his case, you visit his burial site. I really like that. Oh, I couldn't agree more, Christina. That was a great movie until the end. It was horrible. Joanna Drew and her little speech did not ring true to the depth of what was going on in the rest of that film. It just seems so phony baloney. That movie's a tough chew for me because I love it through so much. And then you get to that end and you're like, ugh, come on, man. Delaware Comic Dude says he just got done reading Alien Alamo a couple days ago. Great stuff. Thank you. Very proud of that book. Graham's sequel, Alien Alamo Drafthouse. Yeah. Christina likes the cow with its tongue sticking out. Yeah, when they get going, they're running, they're breathing hard, their tongues do come out. Jaro says, yeah, that splash is God tier. Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. Or sister. I can't tell by Jaro. So I don't want to offend anybody. Oh, okay. Now we're getting to the point where I showed the designs after you had to wait forever for me to take them up. All right. All right. James says, go ahead and take money for the ghost book. Yeah, it's going to be kick-ass. Hello, Misty. So that's the way I read it. I figured that was the intonation you were going for. Oh, wait a second. The problem was getting the files. I couldn't remember because I didn't have them loaded away in a folder or something. They were in. I realized that they were in my photos, and I had to go through my photo app to find it, and then I had to put them on my desktop because you can't directly put them into my the browser unless it's on the desktop first. So that was what was causing the trouble. Boy. Fellow says it was worth the wait. Excellent. Perky and sexy, you say? Says Leroy. Looks great. Hubba hubba. Apex Comics digs Misty. Leroy says he approves of the two 1911s. Except no substitutes. Yes. There'll be a sign-up sheet once we get a little bit further down the road on Two-Fisted Manly Tales, and I get a start date. We'll get that the sign-up sheet out there just like we did for Manly Tales, and get everybody signed up, and we'll be off and running. Hardcover stretch for Ghosts? I don't know. We'll have to see how the stretch goes for Manly Tales. If it's attainable. Mayfield Juke said Ethan said he was going to stream long tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know if he's planning on doing a closeout, though, for me or not. I need to reach out. I need to talk to him. Mayfield Juke says, love me some Compass Comics. Thank you so much. Graham's fans are much nicer than EVS's. I think many of them are the same. A lot of you get, well, not as many, obviously. They got 2,800 subscribers to the channel, and we're looking at like 41 people watching right now, which for me is average. That's pretty good. Ethan, alone night is 600 for him. I don't know. Maybe I got to be a little bit more controversial. What do you think? Knucklehead is a word we don't use enough nowadays. I use it all the time. You knucklehead. I grew up on the Three Stooges. Hey, Dan Lawless is here. Hey, Dan. Dan is part of Team Testosterone. He's got a kick-ass story he's working on that Mike Barron wrote. And the artwork is amazing. Verukusaki 86. I saw you were live after watching Eric Weathers' trailer for Battle Brick Road. Ah, yeah, that's a good project. Eric did the letters for Alien Alamo. Dale A says he's been waiting for another Joe Frankenstein. Excellent. JJW says Monster Island 3. Escape from Monster Island will eventually get done as well. That's the third part of the trilogy. There's some legal issues there that I'm waiting to get cleared up, so that everything returns back to me. And that way I can do like an omnibus, is my plan to do, Monster Island, Return to Monster Island, and Escape from Monster Island. Stat Zero, Monster Island is about as close to war as Alien Alamo is to Western, I suppose. Interesting. Oh, yeah. The Indiegogo for Bass Reeves collected volume is coming soon. Yeah, there's a sign-up sheet now that's out there. So you guys should go sign up for it. As you know, I'm a huge fan of that book. It's my favorite current book out there. Kevin Grievous and David Williams, also part of Team Testosterone, I might add, just did an incredible Western for Mitch and Legion's Press, or Legion's Arts, and I can't recommend it enough. So if you haven't checked it out, go for the sign up, because you want to get the book, the hardcover book, so that you got the whole story. It's great. Thank you for posting that, Christina. Jaro, another fan of Joe Frankenstein. The Shinu plushie will steal your heart. Yes, he will. Yeah, I've got a really cool idea for the mini print that's going to go with it as well, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's sort of what he's going to look like. This is not the company. The company who did this 3D thing I fired, because I found out they were making these things in China. I'm going to be using a different company now. So it'll be manufactured here in the U.S. China. It's The Conjuring Raw. I love The Conjuring. I've seen the first two of them, and I love those movies. Whisper in Chuck's ear about a World War II book. I don't have to whisper in Chuck's ear. He's been on me about a Western. He's got a Western he wants me to do, and a World War II epic. Travis Houston's World War II past. Yeah, that was fun for me to do that World War II flashback, and also as a writer to explore some of the PTSD stuff that World War II vets, which don't get talked about because they didn't diagnose PTSD back then. They kind of called it shell shock, and the guys lived with it. But they did. They did suffer, just like all warriors who have seen combat have suffered with that. In fact, Audie Murphy, the actor and the most decorated soldier of World War II, slept with a loaded 45 under his pillow till the day he died. It would wake up with night sweats and all that kind of stuff. So, it was an interesting thing to put into that storyline. Yes, Manlier Tales. I thought about that as a title for a sequel. Two-Fisted Manlier Tales. And the link is here. Thank you to Stat Zero. If you haven't seen it, it's right here. Skip Edwards is here. He says hello. Leroy says Nolan is putting boots to asses. He is. I'm a deadline guy. I never missed a deadline in 37 years. You gotta map out your time and understand your how long it takes you to do stuff, and allocate that amount of time to get it done. I have little patience for people that can't make deadlines. So, whoosh, crack the whip. The beam pad. Wait, no Olin art. No, let's try that again. No Nolan art in Two Fisted. Good thing I'm getting Alien or Alamo as well. Yeah, I wanted to just act as publisher. Well, I'm wearing a lot of hats actually. I'm a writer, so I'm writing 2 stories. I'm the publisher, the art director, and the editor. So it's a lot of hats to wear. That's why it's it's a lot of work. Oh yeah, all those old guys, Buscema, Kubert, Kane, Romita. Romita had a hard time with deadlines. That's why he didn't have as much output, and that's why he took the job as art director at Marvel. But all those guys, they knew, because those editors were like, if you screw me on a deadline, you're not going to work in my office again. Which is why guys like Julie Schwartz, love to use Gil Kane and Kurt Swan. For years, they were regular artists working for them because they made their deadlines. And in publishing, the presses were rented. The time is allocated for X amount of books. They're contracted to it. So if the Action Comics doesn't show up when it's supposed to, DC Comics gets hit with a penalty. So, late artists, that don't have their muse, that cause books to ship late, or late writers, or whatever, wherever you are in that chain of command, you mess up, you cost the publisher money, and back in the day, the old editors would have no patience for that. They had to answer to upstairs. There's a couple of guys that, like Neil Adams was always missing deadlines, but he was Neil Adams, and it's hard to argue. Because his work, when it did show up, always sold. But yeah, it's important to keep deadlines. Well, the Angry Gamer, with St. Patrick's Day coming up, I've got to buy my Guinness and watch my copy of The Quiet Man, best John Wayne movie in my opinion. It's my favorite as well. And guess what? Fathom Events is having a big screen showing of The Quiet Man on 2 dates, March 13th, which is this Sunday. I know because I got tickets and I'm going. And March 17th, St. Patty's Day. So if you have a theater, like a Regal Theater in your area, you should go on fathomevents.com and see if it's in your area, because to see that landscape, that Irish landscape, on the big screen, and see the fight scene with John Wayne and Victor McLaglen, it's going to be awesome. I've never seen it on the big screen, and I can't wait till Sunday. You had 60 in here earlier, Nolan, when you were going over the art. Oh, okay. Well, it ain't 600. K Manifesto, will there be other opportunities to purchase the Chinook? Yeah, you can get it right now on Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tales. So just click the link, and you can get the 2 books together. Actually, it's you'd get the 3 books. You get the Chinook. Let's see. Yeah, it's called the Ballbuster perk, and you get the Chinook, Alien Alamo, and Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tales. So, hop on that. So you'll have all three. It's always better to get it when the campaign is going, because when eventually it gets over to my website, the prices go up on all the books. And then when you buy it, you don't the stretch goals that came along with the campaign. So I always urge people that if you're interested, take a risk, try one of my books while it's on a live campaign, so you get all the goodies with it. If it doesn't float your boat, okay, then next time. But if it does, then you'll know the next book you'll be happy with, and you get all the goodies with it, and you get it at the lower price. This will be closing out Malin's graveyard shift. Why not share the spotlight? If your liver can handle the alcohol intake they'll be drinking. My Irish liver can outdrink all those guys. But the question is, I thought John was going to be on the Jack show tomorrow night. I thought they were closing it out there, unless they're moving it over. Again, I'll talk to Ethan about it. No Chinese Chinooks. That's right. All American. Made in the USA. Jeff McKenzie, appreciate what you guys are doing at Compass. Great stories. Thank you, sir. By guys, you mean me. I'm the one-man show. Graham's discipline is inspiring. Well, thank you. Yep, it's consistency and commitment yield results. So many guys talk about doing stuff, where they start doing things, but they're not committed to finishing it. Or, if you're going to commit to something, do it, be consistent, and you'll get the results you're looking for. And that's true in anything in life. Dan says, I don't know about you, Graham, but I find Westerns difficult to draw. It's a challenge that I'd like to meet. Not me. I've drawn some Westerns, and I enjoy it, and it's one of my favorite genres, historically, and also just, entertainment-wise. Love the Westerns. I got a million types of different reference, from real stuff to Hollywood stuff, and you can always marry the two together. That's always a lot of fun. I did a Western with Chuck, a Phantom Western, where it was one of the Phantoms. There are all these Phantoms in the line up to the 22nd Phantom, and it took place in the American Southwest. And I was digging out all these Kirby Westerns, Two Gun Kid stuff, to give it that kind of, Hollywood flavor. That was a lot of fun. Westerns draw a lot of horses and 6-shooters. Yeah, you got to be able to do the horses, and you got to be able to do the 6-shooters. Be surprised how many guys can't. Well, Christina Lynn is checking out. Thank you for checking in, Christina. Have a great night. Andy, you going to do anything with Monster Island? Yeah, I mentioned that before. Some legal things I got to get squared away. And once that's done, the third part of the trilogy I'll do, and then collect an omnibus with all 3 books together. I thought Pumpkin was the executive officer at Compass Comics, so thank you for keeping the help working hard. Pumpkin has a very unique position in the company. I'm not quite sure what her title is. Entertainment director? Maybe that's it. Pumpy's our little entertainment director. She's a riot. Do you feel angry at all the way mainstream treated you, or are you happy being in CG? I'm happy being in CG. I'm happy doing independent comics. Um, I'm not angry the way the mainstream treated me. They treated everybody like that. Kirby once said, drawing comics will break your heart. But that was only because he was coming from the perspective of a day worker, basically somebody who worked for somebody else who owned all his creations and all that stuff. And yeah, if you stay in that kind of a setup, it will break your heart. So the guys that went off and were trailblazers in setting up their own IP, even back in the day, are guys I look to for inspiration, because this is the Mandalorian would say, this is the way. But the mainstream comics, they're a sinking ship right now, and they've treated everybody badly, unless you're the current boy of the month. But that'll change too. That you'll eventually be cast to the side when they're done with you. But at this point, you could probably outlive them. So to answer the question, yes, I am happy. I've never been happier than I am now. I never worked harder either. That's the other thing. I'm doing these things, streaming all the time. My time at night is relegated to this kind of stuff and promotional work. The daytime, I'm busy, reaching out to creators and working on my own art projects and all that kind of stuff. So it's very, very busy, and it's a lot of hard work, but it's so much more satisfying. And like I said, I couldn't be happier. What's next after this? The Ghosts of Matacumba Key. You'll have to catch up. Andy covered that a little bit further up. You can see it in the chat there too. The Monster Islands were the first books I got in my new house. Got those before I got most of my new furniture. Well, they were nice big books, so you could, use them as tables too. So that was good. Apex Comics. I plan to draw The Matador, a 10-page short Western. Nice. Love short stories. Get in, get out, cut out the fat. Thank you for the great comics. I always back you, my friend. And thank you. Thank you, Andy. That is much appreciated. What was the name of the Western, the Phantom Western you did with Chuck Graham? I need to track that down. It was part of the Moonstone Phantom Annual. There was a whole bunch of stories in there about different phantoms, and they were all tracking down some type of jade piece that when you put it together formed a statue or something like that. But it was the Phantom Annual from Moonstone that story appeared in. Hey, no worries, Andy. People pop in and out, and sometimes the questions get asked again. But yeah, no worries, my friend. All right, gang. I think we've covered everybody. I hope we learned a little something here tonight about how to apply some of these things, techniques to your drawings if you're interested in doing that. Also, things to look for. Like you'll look at a comic and you're like, I didn't love this comic, but I don't know why. Well, this kind of stuff will point you to the kind of comics you're going to want to read, and will also give you the information as to why something didn't work for you. So I really appreciate everybody popping in, Oh, we got some more guys popping in here. Dan quoting Gene Pitney. But IOT's for you. I don't know what an IOT is. Jaro says, thank you, Stead Zero. Oh, okay. Some people just saying thanks for a great show. Okay. All right, gang. Tomorrow night, I'll definitely be on the Bros. I believe that the ladies, the Bro ladies, the wives are going to be on to talk about what it's like living with us for a little bit. And then we're going to also do some closing out on my campaign and talk about the other guys' campaigns as well. And then later at night, I'll probably be somewhere closing out Two Fisted Man Tales. If it's not on Ethan's or the Jack show, we'll do it here. So keep that in mind, and I hope to see you tomorrow. And have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.